A story time about the worst date in my entire life. And ladies, this is why you should really know a guy before meeting up with him. By the way, we're calling him Slim Jim. So I met Slim Jim over Instagram. He was cute and he lived in my area. He DM'd me about a date. So a couple weeks later, we went out to dinner. During our date, he seemed pretty cool, but he kept looking down at his phone. I didn't want to get upset because he wasn't my boyfriend. When we ordered, the guy literally gets $200 worth of food. And me, on the other hand, I got a $20 solid. But all throughout the date, he kept looking around and I was so confused. And he constantly said that he needed to go to the bathroom. He told me that he took medicine that made him go to the bathroom a lot. The last time he went to the bathroom, he was gone for like 30 minutes. And at that point, I was irritated and ready to go until a random girl walks up to me asking if I knew Slim Jim was here. I told her we were on a date and she basically told me that she was his girlfriend and baby mama. If you want to know what happened after that, let me know down below in the comments. This is part 2 of the worst date in my life. And the reason why, ladies, you need to really know a guy before meeting up with him. So, like I said before, he left me at our table for like 30 minutes. And I got upset because I thought he was trying to ditch me to pay the bill. Well, then a couple minutes later, a girl comes up to me asking if I was on a date with Slim Jim. I told her yes, and she basically explained that she was his girlfriend and baby mom. Well, at this point, she was his ex-girlfriend. She starts telling me the craziest things about him, that he robs people and that he will soon be doing time for being a part of a murder investigation, and that I should stay away from him because he had HIV and that he gave it to her. I had to ask her, how did you find him? And she tells me that he takes all his new girls here. Then she leaves out the restaurant. 5 minutes later, Slim Jim comes back and tells me he thinks he dropped his wallet. In my head, I'm assuming that he's trying to make me pay for the $200 dinner. So I tell him that I have to go to the bathroom. I'm running out of time. This is part 3 of the worst date in my entire life, and the reason why you ladies need to really know a guy before meeting up with him. So his baby mom comes in and tells me the craziest things about him and then dips out. Slim Jim comes back out of the bathroom claiming he lost his wallet, so I had told him that I needed to go to the bathroom. When I get into the bathroom, I'm looking for an escape plan to leave out. When I get out of the bathroom, I walk the opposite way of her table and almost make it out of the restaurant. Next thing you know, I'm getting tapped on the shoulder and I turn around and it's him. I'm literally so confused because he was just sitting down the whole time. He asked me where the hell was I going, and I told him I was looking for the bathroom. He starts to act very weird. He walks me over to the bathroom and literally waits outside of the bathroom door until I get out. And guys, I didn't know what else to do. I needed an escape plan, and I saw a window in the bathroom and literally climbed out of the window to get away from this man. Then 2 weeks later, come to find out, he gets arrested and he's given 23 years in prison. Story time on how my boyfriend cheated on me with my best friend. In high school, I was not really popular, but I was talking to this one guy. Let's call him Nick. Nick was also known for cheating, but he told me that they were just all rumors. I also had a best friend, and let's call her Anna. So fast forward, we started dating, and one day I get a text from him saying, "Hey, can you come to my house tomorrow to watch a movie?" So I text him saying, "Of course, meet you at 7. He says, "Okay, see you." The next day, it was 6:30. I started driving to his house for the movie. Well, while I was driving, he probably texted me asking to cancel, but I was driving, so I didn't hear it. So I pull up at his house, and he's in his bedroom. Well, he must have seen me look at him because he looked like he was talking to someone and told them something about hiding. If you want a part 2, let me know down below in the comments. This is part 2 of how my boyfriend cheated on me with my best friend. So remember when I told you guys I was on my way to his house? Well, he texted me while I was driving to cancel the movie date. And I didn't know because I was driving. When I get to his house, he's telling someone to hide. I was curious, so I went to his house. By the way, I had a copy of his keys and I went straight into his bedroom. And I can hear sounds coming from the closet, so I checked it. And it was my best friend, Anna. Story time of how I got caught cheating on my boyfriend with his brother. So me and my boyfriend at the time were on and off. Our relationship was really toxic and I was tired of the whole relationship. And everything started to go downhill when he cheated on me and I took him back. I know, stupid, but I really wanted us to work, so I stayed with him. But throughout the relationship, I was very insecure. I constantly thought he was cheating on me, so I started talking to other guys. One of them being his brother. And his brother was the biggest player of them all, but I didn't care. As long as I wasn't stressed stressed about what my boyfriend was doing. So one day after school, I met up with his brother at his house and we got it on. I thought that day he had football practice, but no, he came straight home and walked in on us. If y'all want to know what happened after that, let me know down below in the comments. This is part 2 of how I got caught cheating on my boyfriend with his brother. So, like I said earlier, I go to their house to go see his brother, and we got it on. And that day, I really thought he had football practice. But no, he came straight home and walked in on us. When he came in, he grabbed the covers off of us and he literally starts fighting his brother. Then comes over to me and drags me into the hallway, throws all my clothes at me, calling me all types of names and telling me to get the hell out. He then ran and stormed out of the house. And to be honest, the whole time I wasn't even mad. I was glad he caught me cheating on him. Finally gave him a taste of his own medicine.
This story time is how I purposely got pregnant so my boyfriend wouldn't leave our relationship. Well, leave me. So I've been with my boyfriend for 6 years and we started dating since we were both 19. When it came to the relationship, I was more so the breadwinner. I paid most of the dates and I was there for him emotionally. I would invest hundreds of dollars into his business ideas that failed, unfortunately. We even got an apartment and at one point I was working, going to school and paying for all of the bills, cooking, cleaning, and I never asked anything of him because I didn't want him to see me as a gold digger. And he would spend time playing video games and working on his rap music. It wasn't the best, but I believed in his dream. So I basically took care of him. A couple years later, his grandfather passed and left him $500,000 in his will. And at the time, he started to get really distant. He was using that money and never spent any on me. I expressed my concerns, and he said that he was done with the relationship. And from that moment, I lied and said I was pregnant. If you want to know what happened this is part 2 of how I purposely got pregnant so my boyfriend wouldn't leave our relationship. So, like I said, he was given $500,000 from his grandpa's will and wanted to leave me. So I lied and said I was pregnant. Now, I wasn't upset that he wouldn't give me part of the money. I always had my own money, and quite frankly, most of it would go to him. I was just hurt because I sacrificed and invested so much into this man to prosper, and once he was financially stable, he wanted to leave me. Now, at this time, I wasn't physically pregnant. I lied. Now, when he found out, he stayed with me and I stopped taking birth control. So literally within 3 weeks later, I got pregnant. And even though he was with me, he wasn't really with me. He really didn't come to none of the appointments and wouldn't check up on me. He became mean and started cheating on me. There's more to the story. Come back for part 3. This is part 3 of how I purposely got pregnant so my boyfriend wouldn't leave our relationship. So, like I said before, I got pregnant and then he started to act really distant and he cheated on me. He told me he wanted to leave the relationship multiple times, but then again, his actions showed different because he'd always come around and did things that people in relationships would do. And around this time, money started to get tight. I would ask him if he could pay for certain things, and he would refuse and then started to say I was only with him for money. But what was crazy to me is that most of the relationship, he had nothing, and I was the one working. And still, when I was pregnant, I was the one working. And with the money he had got, he would buy himself nice clothes, got himself a car. And the girl he was cheating on me with, he bought her the most expensive clothes. And I wanted the relationship so bad that I allowed him to have side chicks. I never asked him questions, and he still never wanted me. A week before the baby's due date, he completely left me and went with the girl he was cheating on me with. If you want to know what I did after that, this is part 4 of how I purposely got pregnant so my boyfriend wouldn't leave our relationship. So a week before the baby's due date, he completely left me. I was devastated. I became depressed, suicidal. And because I was so stressed, the doctor said that I needed to calm down because my blood pressure started to get super high and that would be good for me or the baby. After the baby was born, he came around to see the baby. At some points, he tricked me into thinking we were getting back together. And once he had slept with me, he'd leave again and go back to the other girl. I tried to tell his new girlfriend about it, but she didn't believe me and called me crazy. I'd always see him make posts about her, spoil her, and everything. After 2 years, I got a therapist because I started to get anxiety attacks. And I found out I was codependent and I had abandonment issues due to my father not being there for me. And I was afraid of being alone and a man not truly loving me. And I allowed someone to treat me horrible because I didn't want to be alone. Regardless, no girl should have gone through what I did. All girls should love and put themselves first. Story time of how my parents forced me to marry a 40-year-old man when I was 14, but most people from my country, it is called arranged marriage, and it happened to a lot of girls. My family was poor, but the guy I was marrying had a lot of money and promised to take care of me and my family. He also had a 6-year-old son, but he didn't like me. I had met him once before when my mother introduced him to us. She allowed me to stay with him alone. He was very touchy. He told me I was very beautiful and would spoil me because pretty girls like me deserve pretty things. After he left, I told my parents that I was scared to marry him and that I'll do more housework and I'll take care of my other little sisters. My father yelled at me and told me no. So the next week, I went throughout the whole wedding crying. My mom told me to stop because I was messing up my makeup. After we had got married, a couple months later, he grew very abusive. Part 2 will be up next. This is part 2 of how my parents forced me to marry a 40-year-old man and I was 14. So we got married and a couple months into the relationship, he became abusive. Whenever my food tasted nasty or something wasn't clean right, he called me a lazy wife and told me I was no good and he should have married someone else. His 6-year-old son had no respect for me. The little boy scratched me, would yell at me, throw stuff at me, and my husband wouldn't do anything about it. I would tell him that I didn't like how his son was treating me, and he stood up and tells me to stay in my place and tells me I'm just a bad mother. I'd cried every night, wishing I could go back home to my mother and father. 2 years later, when I turned 16, I found out I was pregnant. He was so happy about it, and for once, he treated me so sweet. He would cook for me, clean, and told his son to be nice because his little brother was in there. When we found out the baby was a girl, he got mad and walked out on me. Part 3 will be up next.
This is part 3 of how my parents forced me to marry a 40-year-old man and I was 14. So my husband was excited that I was pregnant, but when he found out I was having a baby girl, he got very upset and walked out of the room. When we got home, he started treating me nasty again. He then started putting his hands on me. He was just very angry at me and never wanted to see his daughter. It took him 3 weeks before picking her up. But even then, he wanted nothing to do with her. As years went on, I became quiet and I wouldn't speak to him. I would just make sure our home was clean and the children were taken care of. He would just get upset with me that I wouldn't speak to him and accuse me of cheating. He claimed that I was sleeping with other men and that our daughter is probably not even his child. I never understood why because I was always home because he didn't allow me to go out. But I soon realized he only accused me of cheating because he was cheating the entire time. Part 4 is coming up soon. This is part 4 of how my parents forced me to marry a 40-year-old man and I was 14. My husband would always accuse me of cheating, but I found out he only accused me because he was cheating on me the entire time. Ended up finding out because his son told me. And like I said earlier, his son never liked me in the first place. So when I had made him upset, he randomly said that's why my dad has a new woman. I was off about it, so I went to ask my husband about it, and he admitted to it. He was very blunt about it, and he told me it was because the lady tempted him. I believed him at the time, but as time grew on, I started to become very insecure. I'd do whatever he want, but it was never good enough because he still kept stepping out of our marriage. On my 19th birthday is when I realized I had to figure out a way for me and my daughter to leave him. He didn't even say happy birthday to me, and that was my husband. I had no money, I didn't own anything, but I took a chance, so I packed whatever I could, and I planned for me and my daughter to run away while he went to work.
This is part 5 of how my parents forced me to marry a 40-year-old man and I was 14. So like I said before, I made a plan for me and my daughter to run away while he went to work. When he left, I packed up food, clothes, and took money that we saved up just in case something happened. I woke my daughter up out of her sleep and I told her we need to go. I woke her son up and I told him we were going to the store and that we would be right back. He went right back to sleep and I gathered our things and took me and my daughter to the train station. She asked where we were going and I told her we were going to see our other family. When we got on the train, my daughter went to sleep and I cried because of all the pain I was put through with my husband. I left and I wasn't able to say goodbye to my mother, father, or any of my younger sisters. I didn't want any of them to know because I knew they were going to try to send me back. And leaving was the best decision that I made of my life. It's now been 23 years and I found my now husband and we're living a better life. And I bless God for allowing me to